Hey friends, my name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to Monday Night Farts. That's right, I said Monday Night Farts. I don't know why. That was the AIO5 rig flying around the... what's the name of that mall? The mall. 40,000 kV motors, Gemfan 1210 biblades, Mobula 6 canopy, the lightweight camera. At the time, it did not have the ORT Micro V. It just had the super cheap, super light trash antenna that the AIO5 comes with. This ORT Micro V antenna is so much better. It's a 0.2 of a gram weight penalty, but I do not like the way that HDZero breaks up, so I will take a 0.2 gram weight penalty all day for a functioning antenna. Yeah, that's that. Tonight we're going to get started on the Cinesplore 2 build. As the Vista falls out of it. Well, I only put the Vista in there for the picture because it looked naked in the back. Super interesting frame. We're going to take a look at this Cinewhoop frame first and foremost. And yeah, talk about how different it is from all the other Cinewhoop frames. To me, the original Cinesplore has always been the best of the Cinewhoops. Cinewhoops are interesting, man. Like, there was, we got the Squirt, and then we got a bunch of different box frame style Cinewhoops. So here's the original Cinesplore. And then we got the the original Squirt comes out from Shen Drones, which kind of invented the Cinewhoop in a way. And then the box frame ones came out that were a lot heavier but like indestructible. I don't know why you're flying a guarded rig so hard that you would ever need that, but I always thought it would be interesting to do like races with those, like hardcore, lots of midair, slow and fat races with a bunch of those box frame Cinesplores. And then eventually we got the Cinesplore here from FPV Cycle, and Bob took a lot of lessons that he learned from the Squirt and from the box frame rigs and put them into this. And this was significantly lighter than the Squirt, way easier to work on, and crashes better than the Squirt. The folks that have moved from the Squirt to the Cinesplore loved it. And that is kind of where Cinewhoop innovation sort of stopped. Everybody moved over to the pusher style prop guarded rigs. I don't really know what to call those. They're not really Cinewhoops in my opinion, because you can't safely fly them around people. Yeah, I don't know. And like the proper safe to fly around people, nice and slow cinematic Cinewhoops, yeah, that was kind of it. Like, most people stuck with the Squirt because there was a huge aftermarket for it. The people that were paying attention, most of them moved over to the Cinesplore. The one problem with the Cinesplore was that in order to make it lightweight, Bob made the arms pretty thin. These are 3mm thick carbon arms. And what's cool is it's just thick enough where you can get the tune into a really good place and it flies great. But if you really want to crank the tune up, the arms are just a little bit too thin. I was very close to doing a run of these arms in 4mm thick carbon when Bob came out with the Cinesplore 2. I asked him for the STL files so that I could do that, and he said, I'm glad to send it to you, but I have a new design with big, thick arms coming out. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll just wait for that. And that is the Cinesplore 2. So, you know, this was already, in many folks' opinions, the best of the Cinewhoops. This is and there hasn't been anything really since this that's come out. And then this is the second version of that. This is just half the frame built. I'll show you why in a little bit. So yeah, that's what we're gonna kind of take a look at tonight and get this build started, and we'll talk Cinewhoops for a change. I would like to fly a little bit of Tiny Whoop. If there's a specific rig that you guys want me to fly, in front of me right now, this is the Walksnail freestyle rig. Here's the HDZero freestyle rig. This is the Walksnail RC drift car chasing rig. I don't really want to fly the 2S rig inside the house. I do have a 450 battery that's charged. If you wanted me to, I'd be willing to fly this 36,000 kV 75mm rig that Cloudhopper sent me. I would be willing to fly this. There's also the Air 75. And this is the old school Meteor 65. This is the last Meteor 65, Meteor 75, whatever, VTX camera setup. The other two VTXs have shit the bed on me, unfortunately. So the Meteor 75 Pro is down, and I don't know if it's ever going to really go back together. But yeah, those are the ones that are sitting here on the desk. If you'd like to see me fly one of those, tag me in the chat. When I say tag me, what I mean is type CiottiFPV into your chat message. When you type someone's name, someone's YouTube name into a chat message and you spell it correctly, for that person, it lights up an orange and it's easy for them to see it. And then it's like you're, you know, walking down the street and you see John and you say like, yo, John, blah, 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 blah. Rather than just like you see John and you're just blah, 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 blah. John's not going to turn around. He's going to think there's a crazy person talking loud behind him. He might call the police. So yeah, there's that. YouTube tells me that it's not receiving enough video. Is the stream performing okay for you guys? In the chat, Cheetonian was first. Curtis Hayes was next. Smoking Dog Cujo, Atreides, McMucus, Doubles FPV, Frank Nicholas, Justin Muller, Render, Freelojo, Adam Sandler, Alexander Sandler. I wanted to see Adam Sandler. You read what you want to read. Douglas 6, Northern Tier, McMucus, Grakana, Metal Dirtskin, Freelojo. Hey, yeah. Type in the chat where you're located. Type your city and state that you're in. We're doing that from now on. Whoever suggested that in chat, thank you. At the beginning of chat, somebody always say, yo, where's everybody from? Because I will forget very soon. I will start to forget probably after this live stream. Freelojo, Metal Dirtskin, Justin Muller, Morton Upshot, Lynx Genesis, Tiny Shark, Brandon's Baked Beans, Skull 901, Brad, is that Kernu or Camus? Level 1 Drone, Adam Weston, Brad C. I'm just going to call you Brad C. from now on. Abu Ahmed, Render. Oh, God. YouTube just did the thing. 661 FPV, Morton Upshot, Metal Dirtskin, Curtis Hayes. I think I got pretty much everybody. Lambo Drive Zambo. Lambo, I haven't seen you in a while. Hope you've been good. Flying Carrot. Barrett Thompson. All right, I think I got mostly everybody. If you want to talk directly to me, all you got to do is type CiottiFPV into the chat. You can also do a super chat if you want to support the insanity that is trying to do FPV as a full-time job. The better way that you can support me is by going over to CiottiFPV.com and clicking some of these here buttons. Patreon, as it says, helps me the most. You can jump on board for as little as $3 a month. That's 10 cents a day, my friends, to allow somebody to test a whole bunch of stuff and tell you what sucks and what doesn't. It'll almost certainly save you more than $3 a month. The second that I tell you that a set of $40 or $50 or $60 motors sucks and you don't buy them, you've just saved a ton of money. So help me do that by jumping onto my Patreon. For $5 a month, if you have an extra couple dollars, you can get entered to win giveaways that I do every first Monday of the month. And when you win a giveaway, you're going to win between $50 and $100 worth of stuff. So as soon as you win a giveaway, that covers that $5 a month for, you know, at least 10 months. So yeah, it's the way that you support folks that are trying to do this in a way that we're not like relying on companies to send us stuff and or you know, just selling our souls to the devil. So if you've got a couple extra bucks a month, this is how you help people do really, really, really good work here on YouTube that you can then watch for free at your leisure. Etsy has some really fun stuff, and I just put I put two bind and custom builds up here. One of them sold already, and it looks like this one is in somebody's basket. So if you want to snipe this from somebody else, now's the time. All the parts and pieces are in there. But basically, this is a RC drift car chasing rig. This is almost exactly what I fly to chase those guys that you've seen in all those wonderful edits here on YouTube and over on Instagram. This is a slightly different AIO. And I don't know if I've ever used this Foxeer Razor camera, but other than that, it's the same thing. Same frame, same motors. I actually really like these HQ tri-blades because they're so lightweight. The Batwing mount that Timmons designed for us here up front. Yeah. So go chase you some RC drift cars in style. There's all kinds of other really good stuff on Etsy. I've added tons of stuff lately. A bunch of people were asking me for these ultra short Newbie Drone Cockroach V3 and Light AF screws, as well as the little foam pad. So I got those up here. I have very few of these M1.2 by 12s left for the double stack builds if you want to do like a Walksnail tiny whoop. Some of the ultra lightweight 0.2 gram antennas that don't perform as good as the Micro Vs, but they are crazy lightweight, and if you're just flying around the house, they're totally fine. A bunch of different motors, some other... these are not custom builds, but they are custom tunes. This one on the right is a little bit customized. It's got a Micro V antenna and different propellers than what it comes with, but other than that, they're both fairly stock, but with you know, me tuning them for half a dozen batteries. Some stickers, some random motors, some really super random stuff. Prop pouch, look at this. You don't have a good way of carrying your propellers around. Look at this, it almost looks like a Burger King bag. Don't you want it? It's made of this cool like Mylar Tyvek-ish material. I don't know, it's super cool. It's got the lines up here so you can like write down what the propellers are in there. It's awesome. You're gonna love my nuts. That's how you support me, friends. It means an awful lot that you guys have banded together and joined Team Gangly Gang to help me and for us to do this together. It's been an absolute blast. And I'll keep it going for as long as I possibly can. There's also a bunch of affiliate links here. There's a Teespring store with some fun shirts and other random apparel. There's a Fiverr page where you can work one-on-one with me. I'll help you fly better, tune better, build better. You know, spend $40 or $60, and we'll spend a half an hour going through every single question that you could possibly imagine. Or I can like kind of take the wheel and yeah, walk you through some stuff. I've been doing this for over 8 years now. I've got a lot of knowledge. I dump as much of that knowledge as I can here into the live streams, but I can't just, you know, have one person rapid fire questions and to answer every single burning question that you've got in FPV. That's what this is going to be for here. PayPal if you want to support me directly, but you don't want to do a super chat because you know that the evil Google YouTube overlords take 30%. And then lots of affiliate links here. Change your bookmarks to someone's affiliate link. If not mine, somebody else's. those of us here on YouTube, we've got affiliate links all over the damn place. Wherever you're shopping, we've got affiliate links there. So instead of just using your regular bookmarks, or if you're like me, you don't use bookmarks, when you want to go to Amazon, you just type AMA and it makes a suggestion. You can remove the suggestions. Off on the right, there'll be a little X. If you're on Chrome or on other browsers, you might need to like right-click the suggestion. There will be a way to remove your current suggestions for when you type in the beginning of any one of these websites. Remove those suggestions and then just come in here and click the Amazon affiliate link a couple of times. And what that's going to tell your browser is, hey, when I type AMA for Amazon, I actually want to go to this big long link here, which is some content creator's affiliate link, and then you don't have to think about it. I have affiliate links for Amazon, Get FPV, Pyro Drone, Race Day Quads, Newbie Drone, We Bleed FPV, Beta FPV, FPV Cycle, Oh My God, Brain 3D, HDZero, Flywoo, Emacs, Banggood, Camera Butter, and AliExpress. It makes a huge difference. It's free money. You can still use coupon codes. It doesn't affect you in any way. Do it. If you don't use mine, use someone's. Help someone continue to create the content here on YouTube that you watch, and do a better job with it, right? If the more money we have, the more stuff that we can test, the more, health insurance we can get to not die. You don't want us to die, do you? How would you feel if you didn't even use one single affiliate link and then I died? Don't bring that evil on yourself. Oh, boy. McMucus says, greetings, gentlemen, and CiottiFPV. He also says, local shout-outs. Awesome. Thank you for that, Mick. Gracana lives in one of my favorite cities, Manassas, Virginia. It's actually Manassas, but come on. Manasses. It's one letter away from Manasses. Freelojo's in Washington. Justin's in Germany in the middle of the night. Look at you. A fellow insomniac. Cheetonian says, did you get a Segway or something to outrun the mall cops? No. Cheetonian is referencing the fact that, so I flew that AIO5 battery, and then I flew like 3 batteries in a row from that little spot in the mall, and then on the 3rd or 4th battery, a mall cop pulled up on a Segway and told me I had to leave. And so I left, and it was okay. There was no fist fight. There was no screaming. There was no yelling. I got 3 batteries in. It was all good. So can you. Just go to the mall, fly around. Go to Target, fly around. Eventually, a security guard will say, like, hey, you can't do that here. And then just say, oh, okay, I didn't know. What are they going to say? There's not a sign on the mall that says no drones. It's like one of the only places at this point that doesn't have a fucking no drone sign. So you didn't know. You weren't hurting anybody. You're not flying a fucking 5-inch rig in there. They're not gonna freak out if it's a tiny whoop. Go do it. Go get kicked out of a mall, yo. You'll feel fucking alive. Mudderton says, seems like a lot of people have gone to the tiny 2-inch-ish 03 rigs. Not for big time commercial work, of course, but good enough for Instagram or whatever. Yeah, most of what, since I'm sort of in the cinematic FPV universe quite a bit, I see a lot of people using them for live event flying, mainly concerts, which is interesting. I actually really like that, because with a recent rule change, we're actually allowed to fly with a waiver, but apparently the FAA is actually approving those waivers now in a timely manner. We're allowed to fly all the way up to 400 grams in those situations. But boy, 400 grams hitting somebody in the crowd is going to be, it's going to suck. 100 grams hitting somebody in the crowd is going to suck 25% as much. Unfortunately, a lot of times the frame that I see being flown is that itsy frame, which, like, the prop protection in that frame looks to me like it's damn near as dangerous as the naked propellers. It's just this, like, what looks like a 1 or 2 millimeter thin, tiny little ring of carbon around the outside of the propellers, like that's gonna slice right through somebody's head, if you ask me. So I wish that so many of those weren't being flown on that particular frame. There's got to be another frame out there that's a little bit more thought out in terms of not gashing someone's forehead open. But I digress. Render says, have you tried the Quad Gas 320? That is one of the only ones that I haven't tried. I have tried the Dogcom 320. And so I have to assume that they're being made in the same place. And the Dogcom 320s didn't perform any different than the Weebleeds, the Cinewhoops, the Tattoos, the Lavas, the so yeah, I'm still firmly convinced, and I could totally be wrong, that the all of these 300 mAh, 300-ish mAh BT 2.0 1S batteries are all being made in the same one or two locations. If they're being made in two locations, they're being made so similarly that there's really no difference between the two. The Beta FPV Lavas are the cheapest, so if you're doing an order from somewhere that sells them, snag them. Where I'm at with the 300 mAh BT 2.0 folded cell battery situation is, if you're ever doing an FPV order, the website that you're ordering from will almost certainly have someone's battery. Snag a set. Buy 4 or 5 or 6 or however many they sell in a set. Even if you don't need them, just buy a set. The ones that you're running are going to start to fade, and having that brand new set is so nice to have, like, a control group of batteries, so that, like, when you're flying and you maybe start to kind of think, like, are my batteries getting a little bit old and tired? You grab one of those fresh ones and you run it back to back. Actually, what you should do is run your older battery, run the fresh one, and then run another one of the old batteries, and you'll know good and well if your batteries are getting a little bit saggy and old and shitty. So yeah, to me, every single time you do an order, just snag a set of 4, 5, 6 BT 2.0 300s. They don't last that long, especially if you're running them on the higher KV motors. Yeah, I mean, that's a thing with lower mAh batteries, though. Batteries that are under like 450 mAh, they just don't seem to last nearly as long as the bigger, higher mAh batteries. So, got to pay to play a little bit. YouTube just did the thing, scrolling back up. Curtis Hayes says, I suggested it last stream because my mom died, and I'm in Virginia this week from Colorado for family time, and my daughter on her family. I'm so sorry to hear that, Curtis. That's absolutely insanely hard. God damn, dude. My dad's in the chat. Holy hell. What's up, Dad? He says, check your PayPal. Trenton, New Jersey. Yeah, he is. Oh, man. My dad sent $48 via PayPal. Treats for Teddy. Look at us go. Thank you, Dad. Very, very cool. Treats for Teddy Fund is complete thanks to Ciotti Industries. Thank you, Dad. Very cool. I'm the luckiest guy ever, man. My dad hangs out in chat, and it's like bring your parents to work day. But, you know, 2024. For anybody that has emailed me since pretty much Tuesday of last week, I'm working really hard to get back to you. I apologize for the delay. You should by now understand why there was a delay. So yeah, I apologize. But yeah, you know, if you're here, you know. I will get back to you, I promise. The Ches Man says, what is your favorite drone in your collection? Oh man, it's hard to it's almost impossible to pick just one, especially because I build rigs that are very specific. They're for a very specific task. You know, 5-inch freestyle rigs are specifically built to smash the shit out of and to cover the amount of ground, and just fly in a space that is roughly the size of like a parking lot at like a business park, right? Like 99% of freestyle videos that you've ever seen on YouTube, right? Us flying around parking lots, diving the side of buildings, stuff like that. Cinewhoops, specifically 65s specifically built to rail around the house, 75s built to fly out in the front yard, backyard kind of thing. 3-inch open prop rigs, they're actually all in one of these IKEA cubes over here, for just smashing the shit out of, but also flying in smaller spots, smaller office park spots, front yard, backyard as well. They're a little big for that. Cinewhoops specifically built to fly around actors, actresses, musicians, that kind of stuff, right? I absolutely love flying these Cinewhoops when I'm on set on a gig. It is unbelievably fun. The challenges to when you're flying around those people, and that this footage is going to get mixed in with Steadicam footage, static footage, tripod-based footage, handheld footage, is a super interesting challenge that I absolutely love as a kind of sort of film major, TV radio, but yeah, from 20 years ago. Back in the 1900s. The Cinewhoops, like the little RC drifts car chasing Cinewhoops, hysterically fun, right? For doing that specific thing. So like, I'll put a little spin on that question. It's a very open-ended question, right? I'll put this spin on the question. I'll answer the question if it were to be asked, what is your favorite performing drone, like best flight performance drone? Because that could be the thought behind that question. As much time as I've spent on all of these other sized all up weight builds as I have, a 600 gram 5-inch rig, there's still nothing like it. I mean, it makes sense because I would say 80% of the time spent over the last 10 years in FPV by this whole community, right? Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of pilots around the world, has been spent with 5-inch freestyle rigs, or 5-inch freestyle and 5-inch racing rigs, which are pretty similar. And so the relationship between the weight of the propellers, the amount of power that the motor makes, the weight of the motor bell, the weight of the frame, the strength of the frame, right? The whole thing that is building a 5-inch quad, it's had the benefit of all of that R&D, right? Like, yes, we're just going out and flying, but then we're coming home and we're talking about it and we're trying different stuff, and then we're talking about it again, and then we're trying different stuff, and then we've got a shitload of manufacturers trying different stuff with the propellers, right? And so, yeah, like the glides, the freestyle glides and the cinematic glides, there's just nothing like it. Also, those rigs at that power level, roughly like 10 to 1 thrust to weight, they shrink the world in a way that's very, very cool. And it makes you, it transports you to a different universe, like as if you're actually Superman and you're actually able to accelerate from 0 to 80 miles an hour in like a second, right? And it's a very unique experience. What's funny is this is also one of the reasons that I love the 65 millimeter rigs, is that they do the opposite of that. Instead of you feeling like you're Superman, this super strong, superhero that can fly, you turn into like an actual mosquito or like a housefly that's able to, it like expands the world, right? It takes this basement that you can walk across in 6 steps, right? 6 or 7 paces, and it makes it huge, and it makes it this massive playground where you can fly under the coffee table, power loop, back around through it, go through the middle this time, hang some, gates with 2-foot holes in them from the ceiling and backflip through those, fly under your desk, fly in between your monitors above the camera, right? Like it changes the world that you live in this really, really, really cool way. FPV does that, right? Like in general, no matter what you fly, it does that because you've never been able to fly before. But still, yeah, that upper end and that lower end, it's even more drastic. But yeah, if I had to just pick one, it would be like a 5-inch glide, which is just basically a 605 gram 5-inch rig. At this point, most of the 5-inch frames are so good that you won't notice a difference between them until you're like 4 or 5 years into the hobby, and you still might not. There's so much placebo. The motors are all really good. The props are all really good. All of the stuff that you can currently buy for 5-inch rigs is really good. And so, yeah, like the exact setup of my glides, it matters a little bit, but boy, you have to be really good before you can tell a difference between some of that stuff. Alexander Sandler with a $5 super chat says, what is a good small/micro/tiny whoop to present to my 5-year-old son? I need something simple and reliable, ELRS and probably analog. For a 5-year-old, I would just straight up do one of these starter kits that has the little transmitter, right? Because he's going to have tiny little hands, so you're going to want one of these little silly transmitters, kind of like something like the Betaflight Lite, right? Something like this. You're going to want something really, really small for those itty-bitty little hands. And then you're probably also going to want like a tiny little set of goggles. You know what I mean? For that tiny little face. Yeah, these might actually be too big. These are for... although our heads don't really grow much, right? Like in our lives. That's why childbirth is so violent. It's because the little babies' heads are much bigger than their bodies. So yeah, maybe that'll be okay. But yeah, there's a bunch of starter kits. I think Hisingi? Gesundheit. Yeah, look at me. Hisingi. Hisingi made a... this is the one. Like 6 months ago, I remember a ton of people were super impressed by this. It was never sent to me, so I can't specifically comment. But yeah, something like this, a kit like this, where it's a tiny little transmitter, little quad, little set of goggles. It's going to be safe. It's going to have, nice strong prop guards and whatnot, and away ye shall go. I think that's what I would have to recommend there. Because yeah, like your transmitter is going to be way too big. I wouldn't really want a 5-year-old using my $300-400 goggles, dropping them on the ground and stuff like that. Yeah. So I would recommend getting him an entire setup, an entire beginner's ready to fly setup. Also, if he gets tired of it, that full setup has more value than like just buying one specific thing. I don't know. That's debatable. As soon as that came out of my mouth, I was like, but yeah, I think that would be my recommendation. Tiny Shark says the Pavo Pico frame is half the weight of the itsy. Was thinking of getting the itsy, but The Pico is basically the same but lighter with softer and thicker guards. I didn't realize there was that much of a difference. That's insane. I've been super impressed by the Pavo Pico for a while now. I was really hoping that Betaflight was going to send me one, but they only send me their cheapy stuff. But I also haven't asked them. I should specifically ask them for one because it's been out for a while, and maybe they have a bunch sitting around, and they're looking for, you know, another little marketing kick in the ass. So yeah, I should ask them that. Pavo Pico is Betaflight, right? Yeah, it is. I know it is. I'm just being overly insane. Render says supposedly the quad gas are 8 grams versus 8.3 or 8.5. That's really why I was actually curious. Interesting. I don't know if I've ever weighed these different 300 mAh batteries. Here's one of the tattoos. 8.25. Here's one of the Weebleeds. 8.4. The hell? What else we got here? Here's the 320 mAh Dogcom. This is probably the same thing as the quad gas. 8.5. Do I really not have any of the Cinewhoop batteries left? I'll be damned. That's all I got. That's all I got to weigh. Look at the tattoo battery coming in the lightest. 8.22. Okay. I now like these tattoo batteries a little bit more. Oh, the Betaflight Lava. Hold on. Where the hell are they? Where are all my lava batteries? Oh, I know where they are. Let's see. Lava 300s. Get out of there. The Lava 300s are... You can't tell me that's not the most satisfying thing you've ever seen in your life. Put a little bit of electric tape on the lid. God forbid those batteries fly up against that and short. This is some sort of a metal. Aluminum, maybe. The Betaflight Lavas are 8.27. Call it 8.3. So yeah, I mean, they're all super similar, but there is a slight difference. Interesting. The Lavas are the cheapest, and they're almost the lightest. So yeah, I would maybe stick with them. Or do the quad gases and let me know how they are. That's fine too. Blue Sky FPV says, what flight controller are you using for analog 2S builds? Thanks for all the info you share. Are we talking about Cinewhoops here? I'm gonna make an assumption that we're talking about Cinewhoops. I've only run one of the AIOs so far. It's the Betaflight 12 amp, and it's the version 3. So if you Google search Betaflight 12A AIO V3, this is the one. The reason why I went with this is that it uses this JST plug on the... Fuck you. It uses this JST plug on the side with a little dongle thing for USB. It does not have... This is the top of the board here. This is the bottom of the board. There's no giant, heavy USB port hanging off. The reason that I did that is that I wanted to be able to use the Mobula 7 V4 frame. In order to do that, you have to cut the battery supports off up here. But you can add, but it's great. I've kind of fallen more in love with the Mobula 7 V3 frame, and it kind of looks like it has room. I'm doing another 2S build at some point here with a Super X AIO that Timmons actually very kindly sent me. And that's got a regular USB port on the bottom, and I'm going to put it into this. I have to put it into this frame. So I'll be able to tell you for sure whether or not the Mobula 7 V3 frame does work. I actually really like this frame, though, with this AIO, because the frame is cut out here in a way that I can access that JST port. With the Mobula 7 V4 frame, you've got to Dremel a notch into the inside of the frame. It's not the end of the world. It's a half an hour of your life, but I try really hard to run off-the-shelf stuff so that I don't have to customize it and then fly it around knowing that I've got a half an hour's worth of customization in the frame, and if I crash it and break it or lose it, I'm going to have to spend another half an hour on another one of these frames, and another half an hour the next time it breaks, and another half an hour. So I try really hard to find parts that you can just screw together and plug into one another, so that any build that you're flying has some money tied up in it, of course, but as little time tied up in it, right? Money is easy to make. Time is hard to find. So being able to get these builds done quickly and repair them easily, I put on a higher pedestal than the financial side. Although it's not like the V4 frame is any less expensive than the V3 frame, so there's no difference in money output, right, between having something that's super customized and something that's got off-the-shelf parts. Off-the-shelf parts, sometimes you'll sacrifice a half a gram or a gram. Then, yeah, now you have to decide for yourself what's more important, a tiny increase in performance versus your life, right? What do you want to spend doing? Customizing these rigs or building them? For me, or flying them, rather. For me, it's flying them. So I prioritize that. But you don't have to. If dremeling out the frame is fun for you, that's all good. Gustavo, thank you for the subscription, my friend. Welcome to hell. So yeah, there you go. There you go. Getting caught up in chat here. Level 1 drone didn't tag me, but it asked a really good question. Why do Cinewhoops not need a capacitor? I've seen at least one 85mm 2S with no capacitor. Is it just for XT30 pigtails? Really good question. Electrical noise increases with more power, let's just say. So the more powerful the rig, the more thrust it produces, the more electrical noise will be produced. So with Cinewhoops, they make very little power, and so there's not a ton of electrical noise. Almost as important, if not more importantly, when these companies manufacture these flight controllers and ESCs, they tend to put enough internal capacitors. Let me show you what an internal capacitor looks like. Okay, so you've seen them before, and you'll see them again. That right there. That right there. That's what a capacitor looks like. And so these manufacturers will put a bunch of these in all different sizes. So, see, there's the tiny little one right next to it. These are all capacitors here. Boom, 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 boom. Right? So these manufacturers do a pretty good job packing enough of those capacitors onto flight controllers and ESCs that you actually don't typically need to run an external capacitor. We typically run external capacitors as like an extra little bit of protection. In a lot of cases, we don't need them. It's a super quick, super easy thing to do to give us a little bit of extra protection that you kind of might as well do it on a bigger rig where there's plenty of space for them. On Cinewhoops, there's really not a good place to put an external capacitor, which is a big part of the reason why most people don't run them. They're just not easy to put in there. Luckily, most of the manufacturers on most of their AIOs have put enough of those tiny little capacitors in where you also don't need one. And so, yeah, there's a couple different reasons why that's happening. It has nothing to do with XT30. So here's a perfect example of this. Happy Model makes an AIO called the Diamond, which everybody should stay away from. It's been out for a number of years, and what I think happened is that they tried to shrink. Nowadays, we've got AIOs that have shrunken down. They tried to shrink down the AIO size before they were ready. And one of the things that they seem to have done when they shrunk it down is they removed a bunch of those capacitors. And they just said, oh, well, this is the only way that we can shrink it down. We need to make this lighter, yada, yada, yada. And what they ended up producing is an AIO that has a good amount of electrical noise. If you pair that AIO with very low kV, very low power motors, it's flyable. As soon as you put higher power motors on it, it is no longer flyable. So basically what they did is they just kept removing capacitors until the point where like it would just barely work with those lower power motors. And hey, now you've saved a bunch of weight and you don't need that extra power. Unfortunately, it was also a very it was not a reliable AIO. Lots of them would die as soon as you plug power in. They're a nightmare. And so, yeah, there you go. Luckily, Happy Model and other manufacturers learned from that, and the AIOs that have come out since the Diamond have pretty much all had enough internal capacitance. Capacitors create capacitance. And when those capacitors are on the AIO, what I say is that that's internal capacitance, to where, yeah, you don't need to worry about, you can run higher power motors. You don't need to worry about running an external capacitor. So yeah, good question, brother. Really, really, really good question. So it depends. It depends on the AIO. It depends on the flight controller. It depends on the ESC. It depends on the powertrain. You know, if I were to build a super, super, super powerful Cinewhoop, I might need to put an external capacitor on it, depending on how much internal capacitance is in the AIO that I'm running with it. There's not like a spreadsheet where you can look that stuff up. You build the rig. If you've got electrical noise problems, which are they're easy to see in black box logs. From what I'm told, they're not so easy to see without black box logs, but sometimes you can kind of figure it out. If you troubleshoot all the vibrations, and you're still not able to crank the tune up and the gyro is fine, a lot of times that's where it's an electrical noise issue. That's tough. That's a tough troubleshoot right there, but it is a troubleshoot that's possible. Dan Tilda Turbo says hi. Alexander Sandler says he already has a starter kit. This is an upgrade. I got him a 10-inch monitor and a Boxer radio. Ah, okay. So you just need the quad, huh? I know a guy that has an Emax Tiny Hawk 2 for sale. This actually might not be a bad idea. It's a little bit heavy for flying around inside, but off the top of my head, this is something maybe. I mean, a Mobula 6 ELRS. Why not just do like a Mobula 6 ELRS and just leave it alone? You can get them. Get FPV has them. If you search for Mob 6, you can just buy an old school. You want the old school one so that you get the 2G4 AIO that's super durable. Where the hell is it? Where's the old school one? Am I blind? You know what? You have to type Mobula 6. Oh, I'll put 2G4 in there. Hold on. That'll find it. Search for... There it is. Mobula 6 2G4. It's these guys. You'll be able to tell from the green and blueness. Yeah, $116. It's ELRS. 5.8 video. Good to go. Super durable, super lightweight. This is the lightest weight. I think this is going to be the lightest weight option so that he destroys the least amount of things possible in your home. And this is also super durable. This frame is probably going to break, but then you swap it out for the Cockroach V3 frame, which is super easy, all screws, and you're going to be good to go. This is PH 2.0, so if you've got BT 2.0 batteries, you're going to have to switch the battery lead, but that's pretty simple soldering. I think I would recommend this, to be really honest. And then someday when he loses interest, you can take it, and you've got a perfectly good 2G4 that you can turn into a ripping freestyle whoop. So I think a regular old school ELRS 2G4 Mobula 6 would be the way to go. If you've already got an ELRS transmitter and a goggle setup, it's going to give you the most upgradability, the lightest weight, and the most durability that I've been able to find in a tiny whoop sized thing. The fact that it's lighter weight is going to make it easier for him to fly as well. So yeah, a lot of pluses to going down that road. Frank Nicholas says, want to borrow a Pavo Pico 03 or Walksnail? Let me ask them if they're willing to send me one, and then I might take you up on that, Frank. Thank you, dude. Muddy Dirksen says, there's a Pavo 20 Pro now with 2.2-inch props. Maybe I'll send you that one. I'm actually a lot less interested in that one than the regular one. This whole departure from 1.2-inch, 1.6-inch, 2-inch, 2.5-inch, 3-inch makes me want to scream. So I will literally be asking them to not send me that one, to send me one of the old school ones on regular 2-inch props. Yeah, I'm unfortunately not surprised at all that they've done that, but I'm horrified. I'm just Betaflight. Emacs used to be the biggest criminal in terms of going to a weird prop size. As far as I'm concerned, to lock you in. Maybe that's not specifically why they're doing it, but they certainly do lock you in when they go with a 2.3-inch propeller or a 2.2-inch propeller or a 40mm propeller or a 45mm propeller, and the performance gains are minimal. It's just so obnoxious. I really... But yeah, nowadays, Betaflight, yeah, they've become the biggest perpetrator of the weird prop size insanity. And I really wish that the prop manufacturers would just say no. But, I mean, it forces people to buy more of their props, so they're going to benefit from it too. So I understand why they don't say no. But it really screws us over, right? Because we now have to buy a whole different size of propeller, and then we have no choice. We have to run just that one propeller, and then we have to wait and hope to hell that whoever the other manufacturer is, right, because they're going to work with either Gemfan or HQ to make that stupid sized propeller, we have to wait and hope that the other manufacturer makes that some of that propeller as well, so that we have any choice whatsoever. Oh, come on now. We were doing so good. We were doing so good with EOS webcam utility not being a giant asshole. I thought that I'd actually had it figured out. Let's see if this brings it back to life. It should. Oh, come on now. Be cool. It's going to come back to life. There it is. There we go. How long has it been like that? I had a window in front of OBS. I had my browser in front of OBS, that's why I didn't notice. Oh, why is it getting all laggy now? Come on, man. Jesus Christ, Canon. Tiny Shark says, have you tried the Walksnail VRX? I have not. I have the Skyzone04 Pro with the Walksnail VRX 720/60, and the latency feels kind of high, makes me fly even worse. I mean, it's going to tell you the latency down in the... Well, it's going to tell you the video latency, but then there's a little bit of latency on the HDMI. Let's see. How much latency does HDMI add? Oh my God, come on. Just somebody give me the goddamn answer. There we go. No. I have to assume that HDMI is going to add at least a couple of milliseconds of latency. So yeah, if you're having a real, I mean, in fairness, if you're used to analog, Walksnail is going to have noticeably more latency. If you're used to old school Vistas, it will not. Old school DJI Vistas, Caddx Vistas, whatever, they have pretty much the exact same amount of latency as Walksnail. If you update your Walksnail and you put it into high frame rate mode, that will have slightly less latency than the old school DJI stuff. But yeah, if you're used to analog, you'll definitely feel a difference with Walksnail adding latency. And yeah, sometimes I do notice, like, ooh, this is making me fly a little bit worse. If you fly it enough, you'll probably get used to it, but latency is never going to make you fly better. That's for sure. So yeah, you might save a few milliseconds by going to the goggles with Walksnail built in. They're fantastic goggles, very comfortable, light, small. But Walksnail is always going to have a little bit more noticeably more latency than analog. That's what I can say. Mick Mucus with a $24 super chat. Dude, thank you so much. Super generous. He says, I fixed my Air 75 and after getting it dialed in, realized I used at least 10 things I learned from you. Thanks for your healthcare fund. Perfect timing, my friend. Perfect timing. My dad filled up the Teddy's Treats fund, and we shall turn back on the healthcare funds. $24 makes it go to $54. Thank you, brother. Very, very cool of you. That's awesome. I love that. Uriel says, is the Mobula 6 2024 bad? It's not bad, but the UFL port, I have two of them. On one of them, when I was just unplugging the antenna for like the second or maybe third time, the UFL port ripped off. Just like what's happening on a lot of the Beta FPV Air. God damn it, come on! Canon! Make software that works, for God's sakes! Yeah. So the UFL port is sketchy, and when you rip that off, if you rip off the pads along with it, the board is done. Like, I guess you might be able to figure out a way to deactivate the VTX and then run an external VTX, but what a goddamn nightmare that is. And then like the pads that you're gonna have to solder to are gonna be like horrendously small. It's just silly. The 2G4 Happy Model AIO is still available all over the place. WeBleed, Get FPV, Pyrodrone, to name a few. That board has been a pillar of reliability, and it is not much heavier. I think it's like maybe a half a gram heavier than the new Mobile 6 2024 AIO. And so for me, I would rather run that. Wow, the computer is just absolutely shitting its pants right now. That's a little bit better, I guess. Huge delay though, but whatever. Google Chrome, can you not take up 380% of my CPU? Jesus. What is the deal? I need to get the hell off Google Chrome. I downloaded Firefox. It's not been at the top of my priority list. Blue Sky says, yes, 2S whoops. Thanks for the answer. I need to replace some Happy Model X12 flight controllers with blown FETs. Was looking for options. Yeah, I'm also going to be trying an X12 at some point here on 2S. I have not yet. Oh, man. YouTube is about to shit the bed, I can tell. Yeah, something ain't right. There it is. Jesus fucking Christ. At the very least, I can be in focus, I guess. Hang on. All right. Cool Power says camera froze on the peace sign. Uriel says your dad just told you to go to bed. I got up specifically for this. Don't worry, I don't listen to him. I'm old enough that I don't have to listen to him anymore. Good night, Dad. Thanks for hanging. I probably missed him by now. Cold Power says it stuttered like it is now for like 10 to 15 seconds before it shit the bed. It was fine before that. Okay. Cheetonian says HDMI latency varies between goggles. I think Mads Test and Rosser have done analysis. There you go. Uriel says last 4 streams were okay. Mario Bean says thanks for the 2S Walksnail info. Quickly joined your Patreon after that. Thank you, dude. Very cool of you. Much appreciate the support. Enjoy it. The 2S Walksnail rigs are unbelievable. I am really happy with these RC and power motors. I got to fly them some more. But man, this thing is great on these motors. It was fine on the T motors. But yeah, I think these RC and powers are the way. 1002, 19,000 kV with a 80% motor limit. Cole Power says, you're welcome to finish your thought and then abuse your camera software. Got to make sure EOS utility can't live rent-free in your head. I don't know. Hopefully I finished my thought. Tiny Shark FPV says, I also don't get the appeal of the Pavo 20 Pro. Why go 2.2 inch when they can just go straight to 2.5? Yep. Uriel says, did you see me wave too? What? What's that mean? Hey, I'm caught up on chat. The Beta FPV 1102 18,000s were also awesome on this guy. To be honest, all of the motors that I've put on this have been pretty fucking awesome. But yeah, the sub 250 803 19,000s or 18,000s, they were the least good. They were still really good, and they were better than the 1S75 Walksnail rigs. Cheatonian says Rosser's testing shows 2 milliseconds latency difference between Goggles X and then the VRX into the SkyZone04x. Awesome. So yeah, the 0803s have been my least favorite, but they were still great. The T-Motor 1002s were great, but not quite as great as the Beta FPV 1102s and these RC and Power 1002s. The big thing is getting up to 2S. The amount of weight, the amount of power that we're asking from these things, it's 2S. Going to 2S is going to make a huge difference. Let's dive into the Cinesplore 2. This is the Cinesplore 1. I've talked ad nauseum about this over the years. All said and done, this is going to be a little bit lighter than the Cinesplore 2, but it shouldn't be much of a difference once I get this all built up. It's using the same motors as this, 20 by 20 stacks on both. This is going to have a Vista, so these will be really, really close together. I'll be able to give you the exact weight difference between the two. But yeah, from my conversations with Bob Ruge of FPV Cycle, this should build out to be like less than 5 or like 5 or so grams heavier, which I don't love, but like it should be okay. What's going to be great about this is that I'm going to be able to tune the ever-loving piss out of it because of reasons that I'm going to show you in a minute. And that'll make me feel better about myself. Absolutely nothing wrong with the old school Cinesplore, don't get me wrong. But it's always bothered me that my tune was like at the limit of what's possible. With a Cinewhoop, you could make a really strong argument for it really not mattering. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going to build one of these and I'm going to see what the all-up weight is like, what it flies like, how far I can push the tune. I'm not going to tear apart. This is a fresh build. This is not me tearing apart a Cinesplore and putting it into here, because the motor the motor wire runs are a different length. Also, on this frame, you can't run the I mean, you could, but it's not really smart to run the arm LEDs. There's not a really good spot for them. So yeah, if I took one of the Cinesplores and put it into this, I would have to do a ton of work anyway. Might as well just do the build from scratch here. And this also gives me an excuse to move one of these Cinesplores over to Walksnail, and then I'm creeping towards having like Walksnail, having like a full setup of Walksnail rigs that I can use for professional work, as well as for kind of screwing around. I don't know. If Walksnail proves to be reliable, I would have no problem moving all of my old school DJI stuff over to Walksnail, and just remove old school DJI from everything. The Walksnail goggles are much smaller. 1080 versus 720, who really cares? The VTXs are flatter. They kind of fit better in these new style builds. So yeah, there could be some advantages there, but we'll see. So this is the FPV Cycle Cinesplore 2. Let me actually pull it up on their website. That'll be an easier way of me kind of showing you around the thing, because Bob's got a couple pictures of it fully built. So here it is. Hold on. Open a new tab, open a new tab, open a new tab, and I think those are all the pictures that he's got, right? Yeah, just those 3 pictures. But they tell the tale. So this is the Cinesplore 2 with his version 4 ducts, which I do not like. These ducts are very fragile, and I don't even really consider these to be ducts. These are prop guards. I would not feel even remotely safe flying these around human beings. It's just too easy for someone's finger to go in the top here and get mangled by the tips of the propellers. For me, if you're ever going to fly around people, you need to be using a proper ducted setup. You guys know what that is, the thick ducts, where the prop is in the middle, and there's very little chance, other than someone reaching straight down or straight up, for someone to get mangled by the damn thing. You can see vertical. So the old school Cinesplore is a pretty standard kind of frame setup, where you've got a kind of thick base plate. It's a little bit weird in that it's got like this big long base plate here. It's got a big long base plate here, but then it's got like a secondary little sandwich plate that all the stuff sits on. But it's other than that, it's a pretty standard kind of design. There's a little bit of weirdness with this center standoff coming through and mounting to the bottom plate. But other than that, pretty straightforward school bus style frame, which is what we typically call it. Just, you know, standoffs in the front, TPU loops, absolutely nothing wrong with this setup. 3mm thick arms that are removable, which is the massive difference between this and the OG Squirt, although I think there might be a removable arm Squirt available now. But yeah, fairly simple. And this is a duct, my friends. This is a duct. That is a prop guard. That, yes, if you bump perfectly sideways into someone, that will keep them from getting mangled. But if you bump into someone sideways and then it does this because of air mode, which it's going to do, that there's much more of a chance of that trying to eat them and causing injuries. This tip of this propeller is down here far enough where it's just so much safer, man. Just, it really is. And like these ducts, these are the shorter ducts that I run. I've got a set of ducts that are even taller than this, called the Cloud 149 ducts, which recess the tip of the prop even deeper down. And those are the ducts that I prefer to fly when I'm really going to be getting close to someone, and there's really a chance that that something weird could happen. These are the Cloud ducts, by the way. See how much taller they are? And they really bury the propeller down in there. So this is super, super safe. This is also nice and slow. Because of how tall these are, it's got the aerodynamics of a brick. And that makes it go nice and slow. And that's good. That's a good thing. When you're flying a Cinewhoop, you're going slowly. If you want to go fast, don't fly a Cinewhoop. You shouldn't be going fast and getting near people that are not wearing a bunch of gear. So, yeah, you can see now we've moved to vertical camera plates on the Cinesplore 2. And you can see the A-arm design here, right? Cool little XT60 holder here I'm going to kind of play around with. I probably won't use, but you never know. So there it is, fully built. And now here is just the frame. Here's the super interesting part about the Cinesplore to me. There are no standoffs that jack directly into the bottom plate. And there's just a single bottom plate. So you've got bottom plate, and then you've got these massively thick arms that are now skinny, which is better for airflow. So I'm wondering if, I mean, there are two of them now, right? But I'm wondering if these arms being so much skinnier might actually, even though the all-up weight is going to go up, I'm wondering if I might get more, or at least the same runtime because of this. We'll see. But yeah, shorter standoffs that are jacked into the arms. The standoff does not go through the arm. This is just one big solid chunk of carbon here. And then, yeah, nice. The top plate situation is basically the same, but we don't have a double bottom plate now, which saves some weight. And that weight savings has been passed into the arms. As we get deeper and deeper and deeper into frame design, and we continue to refine FPV frames, it becomes a game of where do you put your weight? Do you put your weight into the arms? Do you put it into the base plate? Do you put it into the camera plates? Do you put it into the top plate? And that's where like the art of frame design really comes in, is that, you know, if you've got a target weight of 92 grams that your frame is going to be, where are you going to spend that weight? If you put it into the arms, they're going to be stronger. They're going to resist vibrations. But then if you make the bottom plate too thin, does that become a weak point? And does that bottom plate break in half every time you crash? The way that Bob has tied these arms into the top plate and into the bottom plate, what he's doing is he's making, like, he's boxing it in. And if you've ever had like a shoebox and you take the lid off, you can wobble the shit out of that shoebox. It's not strong at all. You put that lid on, one piece with the little overhangs, and that shoebox becomes infinitely more strong, basically, and resistant to twisting forces and whatnot. Then when you really get into it, some of the stuff that Rosser does is he looks at, like, what are we even getting twisting forces? What are the motor vibrations doing? Are they twisting the frame? Are they flexing the frame? He's got those really cool mode or node analyses that take a look at that, which is really, really cool stuff. But yeah, this is a really, really, like, this is a frame design that has some actual innovation in it because of how this, I'm going to show you in a second, the bottom plate is crazy thin, but he's able to do that because the arms are so strong and because of this A-arm design. And so, yeah, this is a really, really interesting frame, really cool frame. I like what Bob has done. And so, yeah, here it is all put together. You certainly won't get to see it all put together tonight. I might not get anything done with it. But, you know, this is where builds tend to start, is taking a look at them. You piece the frame together. You kind of figure out if it's the right frame for you. This is when you want to figure out, like, if it's not the frame for you. You know, don't put 6, 8, 10 hours into a build if you're not sure if the frame is what you really want. So piece it together, put your components in there, make sure everything fits right, make sure your cables are going to be long enough. So yeah, there you go. Uriel says a planned break point is not bad. A cheap part? Oh, a cheap part like the ground plate. I actually hate when the base plates break, because when a base plate breaks, you have to take the whole fucking thing apart. It is like the most amount of work possible. I would rather have an arm break than the base plate. Also, when a base plate breaks, you ain't fixing that in the field. If an arm breaks, you can pretty easily fix that in the field usually. A couple of screws, slot it in, away you go. So I'm actually of the mind that the arms should break first. They should be the first thing to break. Split that maybe with the camera plates in the front. If the camera plates break in the front, it's usually a pretty easy fix, right? Sometimes it'll take the camera with it, unfortunately, but yeah, arms and camera plates are the first things that I want to break. Then the top plate. Then dead last is going to be the base plate. The base plate, I would rather it be a little bit stronger and just never, ever, ever break, because of how, you know, you can't fly it in the field. You're done. That rig is completely done. But also, once you get home, you're going to have to pull that whole shit apart. It's just a pain in the ass. So, yeah, but that's just me. You know, that's my personal feelings. If you don't feel that way, that's totally fine. That's allowed. So there's the Cinesplore 2. Check out how thin this base plate is. And again, I'm pretty sure he can get away with this because of how strong the arms are. But look at that base plate. That can't be more than 2 millimeters. It might even be 1.5 millimeters. I never do this, but I'm actually going to break out the micrometer, because I would like to know. And I'm sure someone else out there would like to know as well. So this base plate is, I could have probably just looked on his website, but for the skeptics, 1.72 millimeters. That's a weird amount of millimeters, and it is zeroed out. Huh. 1.72, huh? Okay. I've never heard of a carbon fiber manufacturer offering such a specific thickness. And like, I guess it's actually a 1.8 millimeters, and then it's just coming in at a little thin. I wouldn't think that it's a 2 millimeter base plate that's then that much thinner, but you never know. They're doing all kinds of wacky stuff there in those carbon fiber plants. So this is how I usually what I do is I put the entire frame together, I fondle it, and then I take it mostly apart, and then I do the build. I did something a little different this time that I think I'm going to start doing, which is you put you just build half of it out. And what's cool about that is it lets you see like where the electronics are going to sit on like the Z-axis. It lets me see that like these motor wires are going to... This is actually the only way that I knew I wasn't going to be able to run the ARM LEDs, is that I realized that the ESC is going to sit really low in here. And like having the ARM LEDs up here with a separate set of pads, and then it would just be kind of a mess. And so I decided to, forgo those, and I'm just going to run these motor wires straight to the ESC. There's all kinds of other little problems you'll figure out, like where are you going to put your motor pads, where are you going to put your capacitor. You can take your camera plates and line them up here and see how far out the camera is going to sit. Now you know you've got X amount of space here for a capacitor, or maybe you don't have enough space here and you have to put it in the middle here. You put your, slap your VTX down here, see how much space that's going to take up, figure out if you're going to run the cables rearwards or frontwards, figure out where your antenna is going to sit, right? So this is where you're kind of like speccing the build out, really, and starting to organize things. And it's an important part of the process if you want like a build that's easy to work on and it's clean and it's going to perform as good as possible. So yeah, I do recommend this part of the process. Some people will just start slamming things together. It's like a race to start soldering as quickly as possible. Don't do that. Put these things together, dry fit stuff, see what's going on, and you'll usually figure out a better way to kind of put this thing together, right? Like, this Vista has this cable and plug already on it. How can I mount this so that it's long enough to reach? I don't necessarily want this plug to be up front because now this isn't long enough. I got to create a bunch of extra work for myself. But if I put it on the side, that actually spits this USB out to this side. It just kind of, makes a lot of sense, and it'll help you with the build process. So this is, I've already done a bunch of that. I've already spent like an hour kind of moving things around, rotating the ESC, rotating the flight controller. I'm pretty sure this is where this thing is going to end up. The battery wires are going to come out the front. You got to remember there's going to be ducts here. I really like having the battery connectors coming out the front on these Cinesplore builds because it allows me to tuck the battery wires down. Like, so the battery wires will run down here, and then it'll poke up. Like, this is going to be the back of this duct, and then so the lead can poke up right here, and it puts it like in a really good spot to plug into the front of the battery. When you have your battery rotated with the leads forward, the XT60 will pop up here, or I'll actually probably run a XT. I don't know what I'll run, but the battery lead will stick up here. And then you just plug it right in, and it's nice and protected. No bullshit. It's not hanging off the back. It's not like getting anywhere near the props. It's in a really good spot. That's how I've been doing most of my Cinesplore builds, and it works really well. I should have just enough space here for a little capacitor. This is a rig that's only going to run 4S, so I don't need to run a gigantic capacitor. I probably don't need to run any capacitor, but I'll throw a tiny little one on the front here. Better than nothing. Something a little bit bigger than this, probably. Although this would actually probably be totally fine. No, this is only a 25 volt. So I will run a higher. It would actually be okay. But so this is kind of where we're at. I did say I was gonna fly. It's 11:30. Let's cut these motor wires down. That's a nice little thing that I can kind of do that won't take a ton of time and frustrate me. That I do have some very specific thoughts about that'll help you out. Having motor wires that are too long is a pain in the ass. They're heavy as hell, and it does make a difference. Cutting them too short is a pain in the ass as well. although a lot less of a pain in the ass now that we've got race wires and race wire LEDs. If you ever cut your motor wires too short, you can always hook them up to a set of race wires, and then that'll let you hook up a second set. But why not spend an extra minute and cut them to the correct length, right? I've also done a little bit of work figuring out how I need to space this ESC out so that it's not hitting the bottom plate and so that the flight controller is not hitting it. Basically, I'm running these little spacers on here, but that's fine. I remember where they need to go. So here's our ESC. This is the T-Motor Cinematic 35 amp. Again, this is going to be a 4S Cinewhoop. It will never, ever, ever get anywhere near maxing out 35 amp times 4. 661 rightly says, Kabob will shame you if you cut your motor wires. Yeah, Kabob is notorious for his sloppy builds. He is a very busy guy, though, which is why. And he tends to leave motor wires hysterically long, and then he like wraps them around the arms in like the ugliest way possible. This Cinesplore 2 build is actually pretty clean. That for like this is maybe the cleanest build I've ever seen Kabob do. I wouldn't be surprised if this is somebody else's build. Because this is not like him. He usually has motor wires wrapped all around these arms in like an insane way. This might be I bet you this is a working rig for him though, which is why he took a little bit extra time to keep it neat and tidy. Plus taking pictures of it from the website for the website, right? Off Axis with a $1.49 Canadian super chat. Thank you, homie. Very cool of you. Danzel the Terrible says, tied into the standoffs, looks like it's super strong despite the base plate. It'll be interesting to see if the twist test when compared to V1. Yeah, I can already tell you that this Cinesplore 2 frame is way, way, way stronger than the version 1. I can just tell. It just from the way that these two arms already feel. And Kabob has built them, and he's obviously built a ton of the OG Cinesplores. And yeah, he's told me that it is like orders of magnitude stronger. That's why I'm saying that there's actual innovation in this frame. It's subtle innovation, but it's there. Having this setup, this is different than the single arm setup. I'm not gonna say like, oh, this is definitely gonna be better, because it's potentially blocking more of the thrust. So for a high-powered, no fucks given Cinewhoop, yeah, all right, this might be better. Those are not mine. My Cinewhoops are built to be absolutely as light as possible and have just enough power for that weight so that I can run really lightweight batteries and still get good runtime. This might not be the frame for that. I might end up going back to the old school Cinesplore frame, but only one way to find out. So yeah, this ESC will be mounted like. Does anybody know anything about this ESC? I assume it's okay. But yeah, this is the Cinematic T-Motor 35 amp ESC. The FETs are pretty small, but this is a micro. Keep in mind, like, yes, this is picking up a GoPro, but this is a micro. This is a 3-inch rig. You do not need a massive ESC for something like this. This is also a rig that you don't really go full throttle almost ever with, right? So the smaller, lighter ESCs should be totally fine. I've been running them forever, and they've been completely fine. So put your ESC where it's going to be. Then bolt at least 2 of your motors down. One front, one rear, because the wire runs are going to be different. If you don't want to bolt the other 2 motors down, that's fine. You can take this motor, hold it like butt to butt against the other motor, and just stretch the wires out once you've cut these to the right length. This is a Cinewhoop, so these wires are going to have to run down here. This is the duct mounting point here, these 2 screws. So the wires are going to have to go through there, but then the wires can turn. So if I really wanted to make this absolutely as light as possible, I would hold my finger here, and then I will hold these wires up like that, and then I would cut them right there. Don't do that though. If you're running an arm LED or a race wire, sure, you can get away with that because it's easy to replace them. If you're going directly from the motor to the ESC, give yourself a little bit of extra, little bit of extra wire. I can do that in one of two ways. I could go up in between these guys. I could certainly do that and then run it over. Start thinking about the rear motor wires. I guess I could do it on both. It looks like there's enough space to do that with both of these, because these wires kind of go vertical when I do that. So then I could come in here, and so yeah, that's one way I could do it. I haven't decided yet. This is again gonna get sandwiched in here, and so that's totally an option. Like, why though? This doesn't really do much of anything. Again, keep in mind there's ducts here. So these ducts are going to protect these wires. I might do this if I was going to run this like open prop, because this would kind of keep these as far away from the propeller as possible. But there's going to be ducts here. So I don't necessarily know if there's a good reason to do that. So I don't really think I'm gonna. I think what I'm going to do is, instead of just making this turn as soon as it goes through the duct, I'm just going to push my finger down here a little bit and just give it a little bit more room. Just give it a little bit more space, and then make the turn here at the standoff. And then run it over, and it's going to kind of go down a little bit. And that way there's just a little bit of extra motor wire. God forbid I ever switch ESCs, and if I get a different ESC that has the pads in a different location, or if like I weirdly want to rotate this ESC, or if I start running like an AIO that's going to have the pads in a different location, I've got enough extra motor wire here that I don't have to go to race wires or anything like that. On this frame, like I said earlier, race wires are not going to fit all that well, if at all, on these arms. So I'm being extra sensitive to this with this build. And so you just use your fingies to kind of get these into a positioning and run them the way that you want to see them. In this case, I'm running them so that they have some extra wire length, right? They're making this little S turn here, and that gives me some extra length. Get them exactly where you want them. Stack the wires up all nice and pretty, and then run them up onto the pads. At this point, I can just use one finger to kind of hold it, and then you just come down here vertically and just cut them right after where the pad is. Don't cut it before, because then you'll lose some of this extra length. Cut it right after where the pad is. And you don't even have to cut all the way through. You can just actually notch the wires so that it leaves a mark. But when you're doing a bunch of curves like this, you want to cut each one individually. And see, like I've got this one wire that's getting a little bit long, so I just keep kind of futzing with it. Also understand that the pads are in different spots, right? The first wire and the third wire, there's going to be a little bit of a difference there. That's why you want to run it pretty much up exactly like this. And so that looks pretty damn good. So I'm just going to come in vertically here and just 1, 2, and 3. Well, I left a mark. I left a mark in it. That's fine. I can now pick it up, find that little mark, and cut it the rest of the way. And there we go. And now those motor wires are the absolute perfect length. I know this seems kind of pedantic, but it does make a difference. Trust me, it doesn't take long to do that. It looks super clean. And when it looks super clean, it is super clean, and like those motor wires will be out of the way. If you just wrap them around the arm and all that crazy shit, like there's going to be a point where like a branch gets stuck under them and rips them off. Like there's bad shit that can happen. So take a little bit of extra time, do it right. So now we've got the rear motor. These motor wires are going to be a lot longer. So now what I would probably like to do is keep that flat wire party kind of going. Drop these down. But what I want to remember is there's going to be a VTX here. So let's get these wires somewhat run like this. And then we'll bring the VTX in and just make sure that it's not going to be like pinching against the wires. See, we've got tons of space. We've got nothing but space between this VTX and these wires. So no real concerns there. So that's good. We can get that out of there. So I guess the decision becomes, do I run these wires in between these standoffs? What I don't like is it makes them like kind of sit up vertically. I mean, I could technically also run them up here, but that seems kind of silly. Take pride in your builds, my friends. If you take pride in them, they will fly better. They will love you more. Yes, your builds can love you. It's a scientific fact. Could bring them all the way flat down. There's actually not a super clean way of doing this. Well, sure there is. Yeah, bringing them down flat and then over. There it is. That's the super clean way of doing it. Yep, that keeps them as flat as possible. They drop down and then up and over. So that's how I'm going to do them. All right, same deal. Get it right there. Get a finger on it. And then cut them up in front of the pads. When in doubt, just leave little notches in them. Since you're like kind of cutting against the PCB, it's a little spooky. So if you need to, the safe thing to do is just to leave little marks in them, pick them up, and then cut the rest of the way through them. Next thing you're going to do is tin these wires, but instead, I think I'm going to fly because I put 6 batteries in the title of the live stream. What do you guys want to see me fly? Viewer request flight session. I gave you a bunch of the rigs that are sitting right in front of me at the beginning of the stream. Which ones do you guys want to see me fly? I could now unbolt these motors and hold them up, like take them and go like that to the other 2 motors, because these are the perfect length and this is symmetrical. So I could hold them butt to butt with the other 2 motors. Sometimes that saves a little bit of time. You got to be really careful when you do that, though, that you don't end up cutting it a little bit too short. But I tend to do that quite a bit. So yeah, now we would strip these, tin these pads, tin these wires, connect them together, and away we go. But I think it's like 11:45. 5-inch indoors, great. 661 is voting for death. Denzel the Terrible says, I remember building my V1 Cinesplore and referring to pics on FPV Cycle, pics of a muddy Cinesplore. Off Axis says, I think dual arm Cinewhoops make more sense. We aren't bashing them. What do you mean dual arm? Like the A-arm design, or like on the transmitter dual arming? Off Axis says, don't forget to braid the motor wires, JK. Braided motor wires actually would probably not pass through the openings in the ducts. Uriel says, I give wires a small loop, not so pre-pressurized and likely reusable. That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. It's always, whatever you got to do to give it a little bit more wire is a really good thing. All you guys are saying is 65 millimeter. So let's fly. Let's fly the HDZero whoop. I've not flown that nearly enough. And it's a modern marvel of technology. See if I can get in the zone with that thing. Let's plug this in. which is going to make the computer run even worse, but hopefully we'll be okay. And then I'm going to plug this in as well. That is the HDZero module. Hey, I put 2 fresh Hall sensor gimbals into this QX7 last night, and that weird crosstalk that I was getting previously is all better. I have no idea how or why the Hall sensor gimbals that were on it were acting so weird, but it was the gimbals. It was not the transmitter. It was not any of the boards. So yeah, that weird yaw twitch that I would get at the beginning of every battery is now gone. Super, super weird. I don't pretend to know what the hell that was about, but I mean, I know that it was doing it, and that's kind of all that matters. And I know that it's not doing it anymore. And again, kind of all that matters. Plugging in the HDZero little backpack jibbo jabbo shark bite. There it is. Old school. This is 0702 40,000 kV motored Newbie Drone Cockroach V3 framed race camera'd AIO5. Boy, is it nice for you guys to have a feed, and then for me to have to deal with the weirdness of these HDZero goggles. Why do they not pick the source that is giving them current video? How, with all of the technological wizardry that HDZero has put into these goggles, how do they not automatically switch what is happening to this quad? Why am I full throttle? And it's not even sagging the battery. What the hell's going on here, little buddy? Let me spin each motor up individually. Motor 2, as you can hear, is significantly lower in pitch. Ow! Let's see if that bleeds. That caught me full throttle with the... not the sharp tip of the prop. No blood. 65mm Cinewhoops, no blood. Look at that. That was absolutely full throttle. Why was it flying like that a minute ago? What the hell? It's still flying like that. What? Let me check if motor 2 has a slipped shaft. It does indeed. Balls. Well, is that a slipped motor shaft? Hold on. Or is that a propeller that's slipping? That's a propeller that's slipping on the motor shaft. I don't know if I've ever had that happen before. Why would the propeller not fly off? What the hell? That is full throttle. Let's just try a different battery. I mean, it's not sagging the battery down, so this is not going to fix it, but it's super easy to do this, so let's just do it. What the hell? Why is it like this all the time? Why does it always have to be like this? Nope, no better. Okay. Well. Yeah, okay, there's definitely something going on with that motor. I just compared it to another motor. There's something going on. Why? I don't know why the HDZero has died on this on OBS there. This is interesting. This is actually a propeller sliding on the motor shaft, which is super rare. HDZero is acting weird. It might just be overheated, I guess. It'll have a second to cool off here. Let's try swapping this propeller out. This is the Weebleed prop puller. This is the only one I have left. I've given a lot of them away. All right, let's try a fresh Gemfan 1210 1mm motor shaft prop. I'm just gonna throw this one away because these props are so cheap that what the hell. We want high right, which is here, and this is a brand new prop. Let's see if this helps. Very weird. Very, very weird. Okay, so that's holding on to the motor shaft a lot better. I think that might have been it. That's interesting. I wonder if that's a propeller that I did the little dig the tweezers into it trick one too many times. Oh, well, now that motor won't spin. Great. So I changed the propeller, and now the motor won't spin. That's pretty awesome. Oh, it's hitting the duct. Interesting. HDZero is not working anymore. That's weird. What? Why you no work? AIO5. Work! Come on. You need to work now. There it goes. It was just too hot. This this propeller is hitting the frame something terrible. There it goes. Not that. Nope. This is now a broken rig. That is full throttle. The day that someone can finally explain to me why in FPV you can fly something, not smash it into anything, unplug a battery, put it down for a few days, pick it back up, and it just doesn't work, that'll be a good day. That'll be an excellent day. I'm looking forward to that day. I have a funny feeling this AIO5 died because it's not too hot and the video is gone as well. So yeah, I'm gonna assume that this AIO5 shit the bed. I'm gonna give it a little bit of time to cool off here, but yeah, I think that we just lost our AIO5. Ooh, scan channels. Good call. That's right. Well, I mean, it's not really all that flyable right now. Do I have another one of these 40,000 kV motors I can just swap on real quick? Man, did I not want... okay, we're just not going to fly this. I don't have the patience for this right now. Yeah, I don't have it in me. It's fine. Let's unplug this. Unplug this. I don't want these flying sessions to fucking constantly... Why do these flying sessions constantly turn into troubleshooting sessions? God damn it. Like, if I smash it and I break it, I'm totally fine with that. I'm completely fine with that. But, like, that's not what's been happening for the last, like, 2 or 3 months. I don't fucking get it. God damn it. Air 75. I have one 450 mAh battery charged. Let's fly this thing. I have to unplug and replug the VRX because that's my life. Let's do it. There we go. Hey, look at that. Analog works. And there's a dog. This makes me feel better every time. This is launch control, by the way. I'm just pushing forward and back on the pitch stick. Oops, sorry, buddy. Oh! Oh, okay. Okay. User error. When I put the new gimbals in, I had to calibrate them. And you calibrate these pots as well. These volume knobs, basically. And when I finished calibrating these volume knobs, I put them both in the middle. Well, I have one of these knobs set up as a throttle scale. And so the throttle scale is in the middle, which gives me exactly 50% throttle. We're going to fly this anyway. That's better. Oh, wait, no, it's not. What? Is it the right knob? Oh, it's the right knob. Okay. I thought it was the left knob. Oh, the left knob is volume. That's right. Oh, that's right. This is the CO3 with the weird speck of dust in the middle. That was a lucky little bounce. Oh, that was a hard hit. Okay. Oh, God. I am not used to flying 75s in here. Hold on. Let me adjust. Oh, boy. Man, it is nice to have working gimbals again. Oh, you know what? This is also different different spring tension in these gimbals, so that's not going to help things. Oh boy. Wow, that recovery. If you were ever wondering if crash recovery is worth it, there you go. Oh, what the hell did that just hit? I don't know what would make that noise. It didn't sound like it hit wood. What did that just hit? Sounded like plastic? I wonder if it hit the flat part of the pedals here. This thing is not making much power. My throttle is going up to 99. I would love it to go up to 100, but I'll fix that later. I might just be asking for too much from it. Ah! Flies okay. Could be this battery. Is this battery super saggy? Doesn't look like it. Ah! I did not need to disarm that. What is on top of it? Oh shit, that's Maggie's yarn. Don't arm with the yarn. Woo! I got lucky on that one. I thought that this thing made more power than this. Maybe not, though. I've been flying the 65s, and they have better power to weight ratios than the 75s. Cloudhopper actually realized that. Not surprising. I've always said that the 75s are like, the amount of weight that they gain is kind of insane, and they don't really gain. They don't seem to gain. They never felt like they gained enough thrust to offset that. Cloudhopper did a very cool little spreadsheet, and once he did the math, he realized that it's true. The 65mm rigs have better power to weight ratios, and boy, do they fly like it. You can really tell from the response time. Oh, that's right. This thing it gets tons of runtime. That's right. Yeah, it doesn't have great power to rate, but it's got crazy runtime. I remember this now. And it flies okay. It flies totally fine for a 75. It actually flies really good for a 75mm rig. They just don't, in general, they don't fly all that great. So the bar is pretty low. Man, I'm not in the zone tonight. Not in the zone. What this means, though, is that we can fly that HDZero rig. Well, if the video comes back, the video was being a little weird there, in that it wasn't working. So let's see if that wants to come back to life. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. Thanks for hanging, friends. CiottiFPV.com is the website where you can support me. I do greatly appreciate it. There's free things that you can do. There's things that require a couple bucks. Whatever you can handle, man. I'll keep doing this and saving you guys money and telling you the good stuff and the bad stuff. You keep doing you. We'll see how long we can make this last. Come on back, HDZero. I do want to fly this a little bit more, man. Come on, AIO5. Why have the goggles automatically gone back to the... This is weird, man. So weird. Oh, man, that's not a good sign. Although, wasn't there some weirdness with this? Automatically... oh, it's losing its fucking channel again. Why is it that as we fix things break? Like, this is why is this problem not solved yet with these quads changing their channel at random? Oh my god, this is so fucking maddening. Why is this like this? Wow. Insane. Absolutely insane. That's better. Woo boy! Is this different? Ah! That was a hope and a prayer throw there. One of the props is contacting the duct, which is not great. Let me fix that real quick. It's the new prop that I put on there. Where are you hitting? You're hitting on the outside. So let's just bend this in a little bit. This frame is worked. I should have put a fresh frame on here, but I didn't have a fresh black frame to put onto this thing. Whew. It's so funny, like... It's so funny adjusting between 65 and 75. Like, there's... The 65s like do kind of everything better, but then I'll go to throw a 65mm rig and it'll just like stop. I'm like, right. I gotta give it a little bit more speed, a little bit more momentum, like that. Oh God! Ah! This thing still doesn't feel quite... Oh, fuck the battery. Where's my fucking OSD? What? Why did I get no warnings whatsoever? What was that about? I bet you I had the switch flipped. I bet you I had the, I've got, no, the switch is in the right spot. What the hell? Where's my OSD at, bro? Oh my God, I ran that battery down to 2.9 volts. It's ruined. Battery's never going to be the same again. Literally. Let's see if this thing held its channel this time. Oh, look at that. It held its channel. The OSD did pop up. I didn't see it. I guess it doesn't... Huh, that's weird. Why does it say disarmed? I don't want you to say disarmed. So I can turn it off and on. Huh. And I blew shit all over the place. Look at this. Look at this mess I've made. Man, the extra weight, the couple extra grams of weight that this thing carries makes it way harder to fly. I'm blown away how much of a difference there is. I mean, these are 40,000 kV motors, and they, man, like, usually 40,000 kV motors feel like a fucking jetpack up your ass. But then you add a little bit of extra weight, and like that just kind of goes out the window. You should still... Do I maybe have... Oh, you know what? I have these motor limited down, don't I? I'm going to leave them motor... I think I have them limited down to 90%, which basically turns them into 36,000 kV motors, which are still really powerful, but yeah, extra weight. Oh my God, I will never do that again. Oh my God, this battery is done. Yeah, where's my warning? I just have that bullshit on the left there. Where's my actual warning? All right, hold on. I gotta try to fix this. I will ruin all these batteries if I can't get a legitimate, actual OSD low battery warning. What the hell? What is going on here? All right, I'm gonna probably fly like one more once I get this. You took off at 3.8. Well, that's probably just the battery sag. Oh, I did have this battery plugged in for a minute, but still, I need those warnings. I rely on those warnings on every single rig that I fly. So it's insane to not have them. Betaflight, can you be slower, please? You're way too fast. If you buy yourself a Cinesplore 2, do a brother a favor and use my affiliate link. OSD. Why are the warnings turned off? What in the world? That would explain it. And then what is this disarmed nonsense? I don't need to know that it's armed and disarmed. Turn that nonsense off. Get the hell out of here with that. There we go. Why is this running so bad? What is happening? Okay. That explains it. I could have checked on the motor limiting, but I didn't. All right, here's a fresh battery. Fresh battery time. The battery I just ran... Are you fucking kidding me right now? Oh my god. Does anybody want to buy an AIO5? I don't know if I can deal with this thing changing to R1 every other battery. This is absolutely ridiculous. And it's not like it's a quick thing to switch. Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, now the goggles are acting weird. Well, I don't know what channel it's on now. Jesus Christ. All right, so it's not outputting anything now. Hold on. Power cycle it. I just updated all the HDZero stuff. Everything is absolutely updated. Newest versions of everything. Hey, it's back on R8. There we go. Cool. Wow, very... not reliable at all. HDZero has been out for a long time, though. How is it this... How is it still like this? Is it just me? Am I asking for too much from it? I mean, this board is brand new. But, like, this doesn't feel like... Oh my god, it's so hot. This doesn't feel like an issue with this board. This feels like an issue with HDZero, with like the software, you know what I mean? Yeah, see, so this is a freshly charged battery, and yeah, it's down to 3.8, but that's digital whoops for you, man. Digital whoops, the amount of, Jesus Christ, I'm a cracker. The amount of juice that the digital video system sucks up sags these little batteries down to Chinatown. I'm going to spend this whole battery trying to let the VTX cool down. But I'm going to get a warning. Actually, I'm not going to get a warning unless the goddamn core temperature chills the fuck out. Because that is my warning at the moment. Why is it not cooling down? Jesus. Are you fucking for real right now? Wow. Oh boy. And now the core temperature is right back up. Well, I don't know. Is this the HDZero experience? In case you were wondering why I still fly analog Cinewhoops. Here you go. Oh, that's perfect. I'm done. Thanks for hanging, friends. That is another unrecoverable crash. This is just silly. Not my night. Love you guys. I'll see you on Wednesday, I guess. Good luck out there. We're all going to need it. Here's some flying from something. Wow. Here's the HDZero rig at the mall again. Later.